Hey, what's up everybody? This is Crystal Digital Rim, and in this video we're covering the process of setting up a 3D character. We're in the beginning phase. This is one of the first phases you want to do is called concept art. So creating a concept art for your 3D character before you actually even take it into a 3D software package. So with that being said, we're just going to hop right into it. Let's go. So everything looks like it's working. What we're going to do is pull in our reference. So we have a couple different references. We're just going to pull those in. So that's number one of our reference, and we're going to pull in number two of our reference. Boom. And usually what I like to do with these reference photos, let's first get rid of all the white, as much as the white we can at least. Now if your tolerance isn't high enough, just turn your tolerance down or up, one or the other, or up maybe. Or you can do select subject, and it should do a nice job of trying to select that. So boom, we're just gonna do that. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's good enough just like that. And you can do the same thing for the select subject. It'll select the subject, and we're gonna create a mask around them. Boom. So that'll give us ability to see and line them up. So let's do our best to line him up. Now you can probably tell I drew him kind of sideways, so we're just going to straighten him up. Two, and line him up as well here. Now essentially this was again created on my phone. So with that being said, we are going to have to create concept art of this. So we have side and front, just like that. Let's pull it over. We're going to call this, we're going to group this together, call it reference. We're going to turn down the opacity on it by a lot and just use it as a guide. Let's scale it up. We're just going to use this as a guide to create starting to create our character. Now what I could do is take this in Illustrator, but we're just going to keep it in Photoshop and see if we could just create the shapes of this. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. For one, let's save this. So we could always hit Control S and save it again. We're gonna save it right there. Boom. So saved, should be ready. So now let's just get into this and start actually creating. Now I want to try to figure out a way to zoom in and zoom out easily. First thing we're going to do is start to create the outlines. Or we can actually just start creating shapes. I'm not sure if I want to draw it or I want to actually, let's just stay in fidelity of drawing it. Let's keep the fidelity of drawing it. Turn that hardness up, turn that size down, like something around there. All right, yeah, we're gonna draw it. See if I can turn that smoothness up a little bit. Turn it up more. Perfect. I like that. All right, let's continue on. Now you can essentially, you might not have a reference that you started off with, so you can essentially use a piece of paper. You can start off with a piece of paper on a sketch pad. Or you could do like I did in and draw it like that. So you could start with a sketch pad if you want and just scan it in, like essentially end up scanning it in. Or you can do like I did and draw it on your phone. You could use a iPad if you want to. If you have an iPad, I don't have an iPad, so fortunately I'm not able to use an iPad. But this will work. And remember, this is the concept art. This is going to go into the 3D program, so it doesn't have to be super perfect. I mean, you want to make it pretty perfect because as perfect as you can, because you do want your client to be impressed, but it doesn't have to. And I plan on probably working, let's just stay with the outline right now of the suits, the hard edges. I plan on working on the eyes a little later. I'm not sure exactly what shape we want to make the eyes, but plan on working on the eyes a little later. So let's just continue on with let's work from the top down, basically. All right, so this is most of the armor. Let's just take a look, take a step back and look. All right, that's looking good. And this is gonna be a rough outline, so let's just call it outline armor. All right, so let's just create another shape. And actually, before we do that, let's erase that chin. It's right here. Erase. And that's one of the things I do like. Why I didn't take this into Illustrator, because I like just like the, again, keep staying on the creative side as far as brain wise, staying on the creative side instead of getting caught up with shapes and tools and all of this other stuff. Just staying on the creative side. So that's kind of like why we chose Photoshop. Even though I know this will make a rasterized version of it, I'm hoping that we can take this in the Illustrator then, if even necessary, because we might not even have to do that. It's just creating concept art, and you can create concept art from pretty much anything. So again, we'll figure it out. All right. Now we want to name this next layer outline, or outline body. All right. And I can barely see those hands, so when we get to those hands, we'll figure that out too. So with the outline body, even though we're going to go back to the shape, I'm gonna make this the size of the brush smaller. Let's say 4. All right. Let's get in there. Boom. All right. All right. All right. Okay. We're gonna do another layer, details. Outline details. Now I'm just showing you my workflow in a way, because again, all of these layers, these are all the build layers. So these will be all build layers, but it gives you a sense of all the shapes together, which can later again be merged. Make it a little smaller. And just like drawing in real life, I like to have different scale to the stuff, to the lines. Each of the lines should have a different value or scale, just to emphasize certain parts, not emphasize certain parts. And then again, we're gonna get in a feel for how this could look. This is when we start getting into the details. Of how these sharp edges show up. Put the shading in here. Drop the shading down below the outline. Not in the outline, below the outline. We're gonna stay at black, but now that it's in this group, we can just decrease the opacity, keeping the flow at 100 though. So now we should be able to just draw, and we could darken it by increasing the opacity. Which would be perfectos. We're at 80. Like so. And we're just gonna continue to build this out like this. I think this is a good stopping point. This is where I would usually stop in production. Probably get sign off on from the SME. The SME being the client or the subject matter expert is what it stands for. But get sign off from them like, hey, what do you think about this design? They give feedback, you know, we might revisit the drawing board, but if it's good, we're gonna go into coloring. So boom, there it is. In this, in that quick little overview, we actually showed you how to outline the character, how we do outline the character, how we do our outlining of the character for better, to say it better, but how we do our outlining of the character using different widths of lines. So, you know, a thicker line, a thinner lines, and how you can use those to essentially make it more dynamic and make your artwork look better doing that. And then also going into the details, separate them into different layers, but then on the final, for the final, you know, what is it? Was it cherry on top? The cherry on top, which really just going into the next phase, but the cherry on top being adding the shading, the default shading. Again, this shading wouldn't necessarily be in the model. It's just giving it more of a, the viewer more of an understanding of like what it looks like in 3D space, what it might look like in 3D space. So again, the shading kind of helps a little bit. And as you see, we haven't colored it yet. We're going to do that in the next video. So make sure you tune into the next video where you can see we start to add colors and start to explore different textures for the actual concept art. Again, we're in the phase of concept art. This is what you want to do, and make sure it's locked down as far as the look, especially if you're working with somebody, you're, you know, doing a project for them. You want to lock down the look and make sure it's right before you actually take this into 3D. So with that being said, this is a good starting point. If you are currently doing the same process for somebody else, this is a good starting point to send this off to the person that you're doing it for. Like, hey, what do you think about this? And if they have changes that they want to make, then that's the time for them to make the changes as far as, okay, I want this to be like this or this to be like that. And you can start to do that while it's simply, you know, drawing new lines and things like that. So you can figure these things out when it's very simple to do it. So with that being said, all y'all have a blessed day. Do that one thing that takes you closer to goals. And if you haven't joined the Creator Academy yet, I don't even know what you're waiting for. I'm not gonna beg you, but seats are filling up fast. So with that said, do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals. If this video helped you, hit the like button if you're on YouTube. If you're in the Creator Academy, go to that next lesson and go ahead and get started with the next one, coloring this thing. So with that being said, all y'all have a blessed day. Later, y'all. Peace.